Shibuya's Hooters is a 2018 documentary written and produced by Carly Santino. The film follows Santino as she uncovers Macho 29, a Japanese bar specializing in muscular half-naked males who strip down to their underwear and sing songs and perform comedy skits. Throughout this presentation, the filmmaker's content and the filmmaker's style will be examined into order to identify the modes which apply to this piece. By looking at the styles of Santino and cinematographer Tyler Weinberger and the way the content is presented, it will become evident that this documentary shares several traits pertaining to the participatory mode. Shibuya's Hooters deals with the theme of sexual education. In a world where women are usually being the ones objectified by men, Macho 29 flips the script, so that instead it is men being objectified by women. Carly Santino is no stranger to these controversial types of documentaries which deal with human sexuality, and this one marks her 23rd on Vice's YouTube channel. Ultimately, the documentary is not so different from her previous works, where everything she does relies heavily on the exploration of sexual education. The mode which applies to Shibuya's Hooters can clearly be identified as participatory mode, which according to Bernstein highlights the process of social exchange and representation between the filmmaker and the subject. Nicole similarly describes it as the mode where encounters between filmmaker and subject are recorded and the filmmaker actively engages with the situation they are documenting. A participatory documentary acknowledges the filmmaker's presence in conducting interviews and gathering information, where the filmmaker steps out from behind the scenes in the shadows of voiceover commentary and actually becomes a social actor. Throughout this documentary, Santino acts as a first-time patron to the restaurant to achieve both raw reactions and interactions. This is known as film truth, which emphasizes this is the truth of an encounter, rather than the absolute or untampered truth. Prior to filmmaking, the filmmaker and subject negotiate a relationship, how they will act towards one another, and what forms of power or control that will come into play. This interaction between filmmaker and subject is consistent throughout the documentary. The content of this film is very straightforward. We follow Santino, who introduces us while acting as a central character or patron, which then leads us to the subject of the documentary, Macho 29. Santino then shows herself actively engaging and participating with the subjects by asking a series of questions to the young men in regards to what they do and why they do it. There are two messages that are explicit throughout this documentary, one of which is clearer than the other. The first message is that this documentary is attempting to say that Macho 29 is a sex-positive restaurant that objectifies men. Santino explains her views regarding restaurants like these, where it's universal that women are usually being the ones being looked at while men do the looking. She then provides her own feelings on the matter and projects them to the audience, stating it's nice to flip the script once in a while and objectify men for once. It is inferred that this would be her focus for the questions that Macho 29 would answer. However, it isn't. You see, throughout this documentary, Santino insists on promoting Western feminism as their possible influence. But for Macho 29, they either don't understand the questions or believe that feminism plays no part in their restaurant. For Macho 29, the core message which they are trying to communicate is that they are doing it for entertainment purposes and to change the way that muscular men are perceived in Japan. One of the young men stated that people can come here with sexual thoughts, but for most people, they enjoy their laughing. Some people think we are sexy, but that's not the only purpose. They're getting a kick out of it as a joke. They find it silly we are serving food like this. I think this plays a bigger role. The subjects suggest they don't really care if they're being objectified because that's not the reason they are doing it. In 2017, well-known cinematographer Tyler Weinberger, based in Los Angeles, America, traveled around the world and worked with Carly and the Slut of a series, while experimenting with the participatory style of documentary making. All of Tyler's work has handheld close-ups and mid-shots, which allowed the director and editor to create quick-cut films and documentaries that could effectively tell a story and capture the audience's attention from the very beginning. In Shibuya's Hooters, Tyler used subtle yet important imagery such as the muscles, meat, the undies, and even Japanese writing, all which denoted Macho 29. Using such imagery, it helped the director and editor to create quick, fun feeling, which in Tyler's words created a visual drama and enhanced the audience's understanding of a scene or the emotion of it. Although the subject is Macho 29, the way that Tyler's handheld camera was positioned throughout the documentary communicates that Santino is still an active character while the macho men answered her questions. This camera position remained with her consistently throughout the documentary. It was also observed that Tyler positioned the camera where it gave the men a more dominant persona. The The four men stand and Santino below them, hunched over on the counter, acting as a patron who is attracted and entranced by their physique. This is a subliminal detail yet intentional, considering that this is a TV show about sex and sexual education. Thank you so much for listening to my analysis. I hope I covered everything, and I believe that this is a participatory documentary. My name is Sam Campion. Have a great day.